Hello and welcome to the Washed DraftKings Fanduel Weekly Fantasy Picks. I am your only host today, Mike Embrick. The GOAT of Rutgers, Leonte Carew, is stuck in some unnamed town in New Jersey, so you guys are stuck with me today. So we have a great show for you today, first and foremost. I hope everybody had good luck last week. And speaking of last week, I want to very quickly jump into my top lineup, which a lot of other shows will not do because they don't want to show you how bad they did, but I am not ashamed to show you how bad I did in week one. And boy, a lot of my picks did not pan out. I had some right, but I'm going to go to the DraftKings, and we will show you the Millie Maker, the guy who won the million, versus me, who won $15 on this particular lineup, but I did win a bit more, so I kind of made my money back, so I'm not really that mad. But we are going to jump right in here. Let me make sure I'm screen recording. I am. And the guy, Roto Mash, was that his name? Roto Mash? Yeah. Rotom Wash. Congrats, Rotom Wash. You won the million. Screw you. Anyway, so he had, he had Justin Fields as his quarterback, which was a pick that I'm sure nobody had. Fields was not very high owned. I'm going to imagine it's not showing us on the screen because it's a screenshot. But I'm guessing Fields was around 3 to 5% owned. I had Goff, so you can see how I did, and Goff was ice cold. Running backs, I had Josh Jacobs as my running back. He had Bijan Robinson, so killed me there. I had Bucky Irving as my other running back. He had HN, which was a risky move this week, but on week one, but it paid off for this guy, obviously. Bucky came in with 14.5, and HN came in with 16.5. I had Smith Njigba, and he had Puka Nacua, about 3.3 points higher he had. And I had Jacoby Myers, and he had Pearsall, and Pearsall had 0.1 points more than my pick. Leonte and I were telling you about Egbuka since our very early podcast about weekly fantasy and season-long fantasy, and Puka did not disappoint, man. 2 touchdowns, looks like the number one receiver there. I don't know if Evans was doubled that game. I did not get to watch the film on that. I didn't watch the whole game. But Puka looks like he is Egbuka looks like he is the real deal. What are the odds? Puka and Egbuka 2 years in a row, 2 rookies that are going to light it up. I had Sam Laporta on my optimal lineup, and the Millie Maker winner had Johnson from the New Orleans Saints, which happened to be a good pick. And I will be looking at him this week, although I'm trying not to have a recency bias. I did something interesting. I did a double tight. Obviously you saw I had Smith Njigba as one of my wide receivers. He squeezed him in as his flex. I have Brock Bowers, which is I totally overpaid for tight end, which I promised never to do, but I did it. And Bowers, came through with 18 points. I can't be mad at that. He had the Broncos defense, which was the most expensive defense last week, and I had the Saints. So what we're going to do now is we're going to jump right into our weekly optimal lineup, and starting with a quarterback, I have Josh Allen, Breece Hall for my running back, Alvin Kamara as my other running back, because somebody's going to have to get that work in New Orleans, Shakir, because Josh Allen's got to throw to somebody, Smith-Schuster, I feel like he may get a sneaky one this week, although I will be mixing and matching with him, and Thomas from the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had a pretty good week last week. Trey McBride, which I said I'm not going to pay up for tight end, so I might switch this on some of my lineups. Smith and Njigba, obviously, his price point stayed about the same. I think he was a little cheaper last week, but definitely a good pick there. And the Tennessee Titans against the LA Rams. Now, I want to keep some of these players, so what I'm going to do is get rid of that Rams defense, get rid of Juju, get rid of Breece Hall, get rid of Kamara. I'm going to keep Allen, Shaker, and Smith, Njigba, and Brian Thomas. And for running backs, I'm going to get Kyron Williams And my other running back, I am going to go down a little cheaper and pick Hubbard. I just feel like he might have a good week against the Bears. Against a Arizona defense we watched struggle to stop last week, the offense on the field. And for wide receiver, I think I'm going to go with CD in some of my lineups. For tight end, I said I was going to pay down, and I most certainly will be paying down. Strange had a great game last week. I'm going to go with him again. And that may make me want to think about switching out Brian Thomas, which I will do. I'll go get a defense, and the cheap home defense this week is the Tennessee Titans against the Rams. But I have a Ram on my team, so I'm not going to pick them. Let's go with New Orleans at home against the 49ers. I wasn't really impressed by the 49ers offense last week, so I think that may be a good pick. And let's go with I'm going to fade Travis Hunter. I just don't have a lot of faith in him. Let's see if Hollywood Brown can do something for us this week against the Eagles. And we'll save that lineup. I also had another optimal lineup that I wanted to show you guys. And where is it? Is it my third pick? My third one? Okay, so here it is. And it's this lineup. It's a little bit cheaper, a little bit more risky. I don't know if I would do a lot of these lineups, but this is what we got. So I have Drake May at quarterback, Saquon Barkley, and Brown as my running backs. I got Marvin Harrison Jr., who had a great game last week, as my receivers. St. Brown, Chris Tillman, who had an amazing game last week. What did I do? There he is. He had an amazing game. Cedric Tillman, had an amazing game last week. And Hunter Henry, who you can count on. He had some big catches last week, ended up with 10 points, so not too bad. Kyron Williams is a little underwhelming next week, but I expect him to bounce back. I know they're going to be working him in and out of a lot of sets. And then I have the Indianapolis Colts defense. You can mix this up. Obviously, the guys I really want to keep in this lineup because I really, really like are Barkley and Brown, Harrison and St. Brown. I could do without Henry, Tillman, but I really kind of like this core five here. I think they're really going to do some work this week. I think Tillman was just kind of like a touchdown away from busting last week, so that might happen this week. So for tight end, like I said, I'm going to be paying down for my tight ends. And I do like Strange, so I'm going to plug him in. He's super cheap, and his ceiling obviously not bad. I know he scored an early touchdown, didn't really get a lot of looks last week, but we'll see what he can do this week. As far as defenses go, I think I'll pay up a little. I got burned on defense last week, so I think I may pay up a little bit more and get this Miami defense against New England. And then we have about 5,800 left, or I'm sorry, 5,800 per player left. I got to get a quarterback, so it's got to be someone very cheap. Justin Fields came up a bit. He was very impressive last week. I don't know if he repeats that. They're really still counting out our boy Daniel Jones and Bryce Young down here in the 51s, and Sam Darnold at 5,000. I got to tell you, I don't know how you don't pick Sam Darnold and then try to grab one of those Seattle Seahawks wide receivers, or even one of the high under-over games like a James Conner or something maybe there. So I think the highest over-under game of the week this week is tell you right now, the highest over-under game this week is going to be the Jaguars against the Bengals, so 48.5. You got the Bills against the Jets. That's going to be 46.5. And you have the Eagles-Chiefs is also at 46.5. So anywhere you can get those guys in, I think is a good thing. And I'm going to be doing some variation of this lineup with all my lineups. So I really do like this lineup. So I'm going to keep that going. I don't know if you caught our show last week. We went over a little bit of how you could use ChatGPT to optimize your lineups instead of going to a lineup optimizer. I think it's a really I'll put the link in the description below. I think it's a really clever way to avoid doing like kind of a simulation kind of website, or you could also just, really your imagination is as far as you could take the ChatGPT stuff. You could put in, ownership projections. You can put in, optimal lineups. You can put in last week's optimal lineup and say, hey, what do you predict to happen next week? Obviously, AI is not perfect. You do have to feed it some information, which we go over in the video. But I think it's a pretty awesome tool that every fantasy player, especially a weekly fantasy player, and I think even season long, you could probably, if you use your imagination, work it into what your lineups are going to be per week. I can't really tell you how many times I'm on Facebook. I'm on a lot of fantasy groups, and I see people saying, who should I start this week, this one or this one? Might be a good question to ask ChatGPT, because they can, by feeding it the stat you want it to read and the weather and whatever other factors you think may come into play, the field sometimes, what size stud cleats somebody wears, which is why I had Leonte. Wish I had Leonte here today. He's always very good with that insider knowledge, being a former NFL wide receiver, training with some guys who are still left in the league, as he did, and talking to a lot of guys who are in the league still. So definitely a tool you should use. You can put in weather, you can put in the game totals, you can put in, predictions for, who's going to score the first touchdown if you bet like that, parlays, anything. You can use ChatGPT to kind of analyze that stuff. And if you look at the video in the description, we kind of go through how you could download an XLS file from DraftKings, upload it into ChatGPT so it knows all the current prices, the weekly prices and the players. And then you can export up to 250 lineups, or just have it do 10 for you and just type them in yourself. So great tool. This is a really quick show this week. I think we got some really, really good picks. Next week we'll be back to our regular show, so in about a half hour with Leonte and I, breaking down the week's news, breaking down some of the gossip and all the stuff that's happening around the league and around the fantasy world. So good luck, everybody, and I hope you win, and I hope to see you here next week with us. So click that subscribe button, leave a comment, leave your optimal lineup in the comments or whatever ChatGPT spit out to you. We're really interested to know. So leave that in the comments as well. Good luck this week, guys and gals, and we'll see you next week. Take care.